plural.
Yeah.
Where it's like, we commit ourselves, and it's not the Hebrew people or Moses led the people in it, but it's it's them saying, we are doing this. They recommit themselves not only to like the ethical statutes of the law, such like the 10 Commandments, and not marrying foreign wives, which is a big deal at this time.
Apparently so.
And in these books, but also to supporting the temple and kind of the financial side of it, and I think that's really interesting because even back then. The idea of where you put your money is where you put your heart is.
Yes.
And they're so cued in on that from the very start. And we have lost that, I think, in our church a lot of times, or we water that idea down. So that is when the people make a covenant together. We kind of see this in our own worship, where in our liturgy, through prayers of confession, and the assurance of pardon.
And the affirmation of faith.
Affirmation
what
of
do we
faith.
Believe?
That so much of the liturgy is kind of going back to this idea of you are our God, we are your people, we are in this together.
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice. I like it.
So we move from the happy part that you like to the harder part.
And it's 3 verses. It's 3 verses in the last chapter, and they stink. They do.
Tell us how you really feel now, Nicole.
I was putting it in softer language. And
you shall.
Keep it in
You'll stand by that.
And I shall say it stinks.
So what's going on? It's kind of the same as in Ezra.
It is. And so in the last chapter, 3 little verses, and basically it says, okay, bye all you outsiders, every non-Jew, you're out. Maybe they could only do that once they had a wall up, so they could kick them out.
That's why there's a wall.
Yeah, you can't kick people out of someplace with no defined boundary.
That's true.
And I think it's just so hard for us because so much of all the previous books have been leading up to this idea about this being a faith that's inclusive. And then all of a sudden, in the midst of these ideas about worship, you get this kind of shift. And I don't really know what to do with that, Ken. Besides that's a very human moment.
Yeah, I think this is one of those descriptive moments.
Exactly. And that we see this all the time when people are settling a new place, they tend to close in before they know how to go out. And I was thinking about like the hierarchy of needs.
Maslow.
Yeah.
Abraham Maslow. Yeah.
Yes. Where one of your first basic needs is security.
Yeah.
And they don't feel secure when there's outsiders. And so they kick them out for a time being. But you see that when the Hebrew people are more comfortable, they're much more willing to interact with others.
Yeah, the only way that I kind of can make sense of this moment where there is just clear exclusion.
Clear exclusion.
The way that I can make sense of it to myself is not with regard to a people as a whole, but if you are going to start something within a church, or if you're going to start a new church, I started my ministry as a new church development pastor. One of the metaphors that they use when you do that is birthing. And when you have a baby, which in this case was the new congregation, it is not strong, it's weak, it is dependent, it's very fragile. And the whole goal of this work is to get it growing and get it standing on its own and get it interacting and strong and vital. And one of the things that was challenging for me when we started out, because we wanted to be a welcoming, diverse group, but we started out with about 16 people with radically different ideas. Radically different ideas. Like some folks who thought we should sing with our hands in the air, and then we had a woman for whom Mozart was a little contemporary, only Bach, please. And the differences were almost so great. It was hard for us to figure out how to go forward. And so in some sense I could say, when you're starting something, like the Hebrew people when they're back in the land trying to start over again, I can understand from an organizational standpoint how, at least in the beginning, you want to have enough coherence with the group, that you can go forward.
Yeah, that you can build a real foundation.
But I think what's so dangerous, is that if you build into your idea of who you are, this notion of we have to have people who all agree and all, then I wonder, can you ever grow out of that? I think you can, but I think it's very dangerous, and I feel ill at ease. I feel ill at ease with this moment, but I can understand the desire to try to cut down on some of the the folks who didn't have the shared story and the shared history, and it just made it easier for them to kind of move forward together.
Right.
But so I'm not defending it.
No,
I'm just trying to understand it.
No, but it's one of those things where it makes sense in the context.
Maybe so.
It's understandable, but it's not necessarily advisable.
Yeah, that's something we want to reproduce.
Right.
Yeah. So we're really at the end of the history of the Restoration. Is there anything more you want to add? This is sweeping history.
It's sweeping history, and it's interesting, and I think so much in the church we kind of stop at Exodus.
Yeah.
They get to the promised land, Jesus.
Yeah.
We just skip over this whole exile period, and we forget that this is where the church was actually formed.
Yes.
And that this is their central, in a lot of ways, this is a central story.
Yes.
And understanding the New Testament is really dependent upon understanding this history, understanding the prophets, a lot more than necessarily understanding the Torah, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't know Babylon, you just cannot even understand almost anything in the New Testament.
Right.
Because that experience of exile and that sense of Babylonian captivity colors everything.
And even that shift away from a purely temple-only worship. If you don't have the exile, you don't even have a place for the wandering preacher prophet.
Yep. That
Jesus is what they think he is.
Yeah.
And so you can't really have him without...
Yeah.
Or we can't have Jesus in the form that we get him.
We don't understand him, to be sure.
Right. So.
Well, I think that says it nicely, Nicole.
All right.
All right. Well, we're gonna meet you again with Esther.
Yay!
See you in a moment.